Relax and get loose while I put you up on game. The Figure Booth with Josh and Nate. This that podcast for those in the know. Batman vs. Iron Man, how would it go? We talking one of a kind, collectibles. Mezco toys are respectable. It's unacceptable if it's not in the packaging. Nate don't take pics if you ain't rapping it. Nate's dirty tricks are always happening, but damn it, man, don't you be stressing. Round here we believe in plastic confessions. We trying to figure out the figures that's gonna stand the test of time. That G.I. Joe handmade hit me in the spine. There's perfection in the way that these toys are made, but I also wanna know, do I pick Wade or Slade? So this is where I come to kick it with the guys. The Figure Booth. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Hello and welcome to the Figure Booth, here where we talk about being a modern day collector and dealing with the ups and downs. We go over pre-orders, we share our plastic confessions, and from time to time we do interviews with those in the toy community. I'm your host Josh, aka Prime to the First, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host Nate.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Figure Booth. I am at FigureFan_Nate, and you've reached episode 69, which we're calling the Collection Afterlife.
Oh, it's like a Christmas Carol thing that we're doing. Last episode was the variant, so it was like Christmas Future, or the ghost that comes and visits Scrooge. Now we're taking them onto a darker, morbid journey.
Now we're like the ghost of Christmas past, like your future. What are you thinking about? What are you not thinking about that maybe you should think about for your future and your collection?
And that's kind of a touchy, tricky subject, which I think a lot of us, it's that ostrich syndrome. We just with our heads in the sand for most people in general. But I think for collectors, and we're thinking about our own collection, like you're not going to be able to take your figures with you in whatever you believe in. Doesn't matter if you come back as a butterfly, a phoenix, a dragon, where you go to an eternal life, whatever, another dimension. You're not going to take your favorite Mafex Marvel Legend with you. Unless you prove everyone wrong, and you are like, hey, I was able to bring my collection with me, and tape it and film it in pictures. Because if there's no pictures, it never happened, right?
Right. Yeah, man, I love your examples. Bring me back as a dragon, please.
Oh, but then what if you come back in a time where they slay dragons?
Or Game of Thrones, where another dragon eats you, or something like that.
Or you have like this person writing you that is very attractive looking.
Is that supposed to be a negative, or
no? That's not it. That's what I'm saying. Like that's a plus.
Oh, okay.
But we're not talking about becoming back as a dragons and being on GOT. We're not talking about that.
Diversions. I get distracted. No, but I mean it's a good thought, and I think I've heard you say the story before, but I remember during our most recent episode with Trevor, which if you're listening and you still haven't heard that episode with Trevor, please go back and check that out, because it was such a great combo. We've had a lot of really good comments about that, and I think it resonated with a lot of people. But one thing that we talked about that episode is what happened to one of your neighbors who was a sports memorabilia collector. So if you don't mind giving us like a quick recap on what happened there.
So quick story is this guy was a huge sports memorabilia collector. He would always reminisce about how his dad would take him to certain games, and a lot of the stuff that he collected was very sentimental, and I'm sure it was also monetary. Had monetary value, but to him it was all about like memories and things like that. And he would tell me, oh, my dad would take me to the game and stuff like that. But literally we were out one night hanging out and by his garage just talking, and then the next day firefighters were there, and it's like he unfortunately passed. Weeks went by, some of his family members showed up, and then they were just like, hey, if you want anything from his garage, like feel free to go through it. We're just gonna donate it or get rid of it because we live in a different state, so we're not gonna bring all this. And I remember his brother's like, I'm not taking all this junk with me. It's just, I may take like a piece or two, but that's just too much for me to carry. And it was like a whole garage full, like, and he had it all different sports. He collected everything, like golf memorabilia, basketball, like any type of sport you can think of, he had it. And I was just like, man, I was just kind of like in awe. I was like, no way. And seeing the Holloway guys just going through it, and they were like, oh, I'm gonna get this much, I'm gonna throw it on eBay, and they were like taking pictures. I mean, they ripped up his collection. Like, all I could picture was like vultures on a National Geographic episode just ripping up a carcass. It was very like, that might be a little too graphic, but that's what I was like, oh, as a collector, I think you see your collection, you're like, wait, don't touch that, like, be delicate. No, they're like just chucking stuff, and they're like, who's this? If they didn't recognize the name, they're like, oh, it's trash, and they're just like throwing stuff in a big old metal dumpster, this type of dumpster. So that's what it was. He was a huge sports memorabilia collector, passed away, and then people just ransacked his collection, and that kind of shook me a little bit, and I was like, well, what's gonna happen with my collection? And of course, it really resonated with me those first couple months, and I really like avoided buying stuff, and I was like, that's it, I'm not gonna collect, I'm gonna try to get rid of my stuff because I don't want the same thing happening to my stuff. And then I had a discussion with my wife at the time, like, you got to sell it, reach out to so and so. I came up with the whole plan. And then I think we go through this where if you do have kids, I know you don't, but like I was like, oh, I'm gonna hand it down to my kids, or I'm gonna get my kids into it. And my oldest, he's like, he collects his own things. He was really into cars. He's into Transformers. He collected something else. He's like in a whole different line of collecting. And then my other son, he's like not really into it. He's like, nah, like, and especially at that age, he was much not his thing. That's another thing that I kind of wanted to bring up too. Like, for those of us that have kids, like some of us we do, but I don't know how I would feel if my dad would collect and he would just pass on his collection. I would almost feel like that's to do, unless there was like some major sentimental value. But if it's gonna feel like a chore. I guess it depends how you go about it.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, it's kind of a morbid topic. Like, ooh, this is dark, but as dark as it may be, it's something that I think we should think about because, I think a lot of us, all we think about is consuming and getting that next figure and, just throwing it into a box somewhere. And, if I wouldn't ask my wife, like, hey, go fetch out this figure, she wouldn't even know where to start, I have this storage system that's worked out in my head. Yeah. Like, hey, this is here and this is here. And if you ask me to go get this, I know exactly where it is. But for her, she's going into it and she's like, well, I just got boxes and
she probably wouldn't even know where to begin.
Not. Yeah. And, hearing that story about your neighbor and just like the analogy that you made about the vultures is kind of true though, because you got people that are really just going in and saying, okay, what is valuable? What do I recognize? What could I maybe get some money for? And then all the rest is trash.
That's it. Yeah, they don't care.
Right. Which, like and I'm sure a lot of people listening, there's a collection that has more sentimental value sometimes, maybe not as like intrinsic value with money, but there's things that are more sentimental to you. So I think, when anybody passes away and you have to deal with someone's estate, it's always going to be some kind of a chore, but there's ways to sort of lighten that load for people that are coming in after you.
Yeah.
And then, it makes you think about like, okay, well, we're talking about staying focused. Thinking about that makes me think about, well, I don't want to go too crazy and just have boxes and piles of stuff that's just random. There's got to be some kind of method to the madness. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. Yeah. And, in my type of field of work, I've dealt with a lot of individuals who, unfortunately, like it's just a part of life where we're all in line and eventually it's going to happen to somebody. And sometimes, it's more natural where you're like, oh, you live to be a healthy, long-aged life. And other times, they're like, oh, I have something that's terminally ill and I have like 6 months to live, and they get all their affairs in reign. But sometimes it's really unexpected. But I think just one thing that I've kind of taken away from all the experience I've had where people have told me like, hey, like it was totally unexpected. We were planning a trip or we were planning this. And then now they have to go through, like you said, like the personal estate and their belongings. And it's like, maybe they were some type of, not necessarily a hoarder, but they had just so much stuff that the person dealing with it is completely overwhelmed. And a lot of times they would come in and say like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, is some of it valuable? Is it some of it not? And who can I trust? Like sometimes the person, doesn't have a lot of resources, so they feel like they can't trust anybody, or they don't even want to deal with it because they want to go through their own, grief or their own process. So a lot of times it's like, that's one more thing added to that checklist. And I know this topic's kind of like, it's a little heavy, but imagine if your loved ones had time to process your loss and you made it easier for them. So not necessarily you don't have to get rid of your whole entire collection, but maybe in a way where it's just easier for them to not have to deal with it right away and not have a sense of feeling like, oh, now we need, like, and just thinking about it from a financial standpoint, like funeral expenses are crazy. Like a lot of times, jokingly, I tell my wife, like, don't even do nothing, just set me outside with a Christmas tree and just put me out there in the trash, because who cares? Like, my feelings aren't going to get hurt. I'm going to be long gone. Like, you can roll me out with the recyclables. Like, I really don't care. That's not gonna hurt
just
my
roll
feelings.
up in a carpet and throw them in the bin.
Just like, hey, put the Christmas tree out and then just prop me up against the trash can. Like, I don't care. But on a serious note, like if you have everything in order, right? You have your life insurance, or you have your just everything in a will, and then everything's just lined up, then your loved ones can process your loss and then come at a better time or later time, and then not feel like, oh, I gotta clear out the garage, or I gotta clear out, or even if your man cave is organized and it's all like in its place, maybe they can just like take their time with it. And I think that's the best thing, is like when everything's left in a way where, again, we don't always know when we're going to go, but just having some type of organization to the chaos and not leaving like this huge gigantic, like right now my collections, it's a freaking mess, or it's overwhelming me, where I'm like, I don't even know what I have. Stuff is in boxes, some stuff is out. Like, I just want to get rid of it, because if something, and I'm just thinking, like, if something was to happen to me, not even like death, like if I was to die, but like if, let's say, if I was to get injured, or I'm like bedridden, or I get really sick, like I can't even walk through the garage, or I can't even get into, like, if I need a figure or something because I want to entertain myself, like I want to be able to be like, hey, go to the top shelf and you see that Spider-Man in the third row, like bring that to me, like I want to get to that pace where I walk in, and I think either Trevor said this, and he's like, I want to walk into the my man cave or my geek room and feel like inspired and feel like at peace, instead of feeling overwhelmed or feeling frustrated because I have so much figures and not enough space. So I think just thinking about that along those lines, and staying present and not letting the collection get out of control, but also not letting the nostalgia take over. And I'll add this last piece. And I really had a great conversation with my brother a long time ago when I was thinking about just completely getting rid of my collection. And he used to be a heavy collector like I did, and he stepped away and just completely got rid of all his collection. And I asked him, how did you do it? Like, why was it so easy for you to get rid of everything? And he told me, like, it wasn't easy. I kept like a handful of pieces. He's like, I kept only like 5 pieces, 5 things I keep on a shelf. He's like, but at the end of the day, he's like, it was the memories, not the pieces, not the items that remind me of the good times. He's like, those memories are still with me. He's like, I got rid of them, I donated them, or I sold them. He's like, but that didn't mean anything to me the minute I disconnected the memory with the piece. He's like, because even though I sold my turtle collection, he's like, I still have the memories of us like sitting down as kids and playing with them and stuff. And I was like, whoa, that was like, to me, that was crazy. And I'm still barely able to wrap my mind, because I think that's a really hard piece for us collectors to separate, the piece and the memories.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good topic, and you have some great kind of add-ins there as far as like the reason for the why, you know, because I think a lot of people are like, well, why even approach the topic? You know, we're young guys, and you know, a lot of us are. Maybe there's some older collectors in the group too, but the thing is, like, it can happen really at any time, unfortunately. And so what do you want to leave behind as far as a memory? Do you want to leave a burden for your family, or do you want to take that extra effort to try to lighten the load? Because this is not the only thing they're going to be dealing with when you leave. And, you know, this is kind of like one of those dual benefit episodes. Like, not only are we talking about the benefits for your family, but staying organized with your collection is huge. It's something I've been trying to get better on, is just keeping things organized, keeping, like, you know, hey, Mothx goes here. Right. Mezco DC is here. Mezco Marvel is here. And I don't think a lot of us think about that. We just like, okay, where's an available spot in a box? Let me throw it in there. And then when I need to go find it later, I'll just go through everything, I guess.
Yeah.
But having some kind of methodology for it, like whether it's labeling your boxes, what I've started doing is kind of labeling what's in there. I'll put like a name like Mezco DC, or maybe put like a piece of paper. Or another way you could do it is like maybe making like an Excel sheet of what's in there, just like a quick list, like this contains these figures and this is the purchase price or something like that.
Right. Oh yeah.
Just to give some kind of idea, and you can maybe tape that on the side of the box. You can put that in the box on top, so somebody opens it, they don't have to go through everything. They look at this sheet and they're like, okay, I know exactly what's in there.
Yeah.
But I think the organization is a big part of the collection, and it's something that a lot of us don't even really think about until it's a problem. So there's ways that you can kind of make it easier on yourself by just organizing stuff up front and having some kind of system in place so that it does feel a bit more manageable. And to Prime's point, I don't go out in my storage room and I'm like, geez, this is just a nightmare. It's overwhelming and it's putting me in a negative space. There's ways to make that better on yourself rather than just suffering with it.
Yeah. And even like the storage. So a couple of things you brought up was the storage space, labeling things. Like I started out when I moved out from where I originally used to live. I moved out on my own, and the wife and I, we started a family, stuff like that. And I had to get a storage because when we first moved out, we lived in a very small apartment. And even that was an additional expense that wasn't needed. So I come down to a lot of things like necessity versus wants, or needs, need versus wants. And did I really need the storage? No. Did I want the storage? Yeah. And a lot of it was like we stored some stuff that I honestly, truthfully speaking, was probably like 5% of it was household, maybe 10, and 90% of it was my collection. And when it comes down to the wire, then my storage got broken into and I lost like 40% of my collection. Man. Like that freaking stunk. And I used to be a mock collector, and I'm like, damn, like not only did I get half of my collection stolen, but then it was at pristine like market price because it was all in mint condition, and I did have it all labeled. Like I had like Wave 2 Marvel Legends, this is the Giant Man, this is the Pit, and it was right. It was, this was so long ago. It was right when Hasbro had taken over Marvel Legends. So a lot of it was Toy Biz, but we're talking about like Fing Fang Foom before the KOs. So without going into detail,
rare legend.
It was, and I lost a ton of it, and then I lost like a lot of like comic like art where it was like these prints and these mirrors I had bought in from cons from local artists and stuff like that. So it was stuff that I can't replace. And I was like, and I was kind of mad at myself because I was like, fuck, I let this collection get so out of control that I couldn't keep it with me where I could keep an eye on it, keep it safe. Even if someone was to break into my house, I would probably felt as less as bad because at least, they broke into my house versus they broke into storage. I couldn't monitor it or nothing like that. I had to drive out there. So that kind of pissed me off. And then again, to something that you brought up is when it's a problem, then it was a much more reactive type of mentality I was instead of being proactive. So I reacted to that. Someone broke in and I was like, now I have a problem. Now I got to fix it. So then my plan was I need to get rid of all this stuff so I don't have the storage because one, it's getting pricey. And now I'm just pissed about having the storage, right? So I got rid of the storage, sold some of my collection, condensed, really try to bring in my collection into like our living space, which again created problems because there was so much of it. But just looking at how much can I manage versus how much do I want to manage, and I think a lot of it comes down to like, even another example, like when you're hungry, like you see the food and you're like, oh yeah, I can eat this whole freaking table, but then when you sit down, you serve yourself like one or two servings, and that's it, you're full. And it's like a lot of times like you're much more hungrier than with the one you actually are. And I think some of us are like that with our collections. It's like we want to have these massive museums of rooms, but we don't have the space, because I often hear that complaint that the space is a challenge. Or again, like what you've talked about too, is competing with those on social media. But I think this year, like we've talked about a lot about this, like condensing down, focusing, really just getting organized, selling the excess and when it comes down to for me, it's like just really trimming the fat on my collection. So this way, I mean, everyone we've had on the show this year, from Trevor to Customs by Machu, like those two really resonate with me, and everyone else we've had, like Dan Hu this year, like so many interviews that we've done this year, and a lot of us say that the message is consistent, is like really keeping a good pulse check on your collection, right? And really like just making sure it doesn't get out of line, making sure you stay in your lane. And we're guilty of it. It's I'm guilty of it too, where I start dabbling into other lines, and then we let things get out of hand because we get caught up in the pre-orders, you know.
Mhm.
I think discipline is a very difficult and challenging habit, but it's an everyday thing where I want to condense it, and I gotta think long term, and again trying to stay present. Where if something was to happen to me, and I'll think to the extreme, like, hey, let's say I was to kick the bucket. I don't want, one, my kids are gonna be devastated, my wife's gonna be probably devastated, but I don't want them to deal with, oh great, now we gotta deal with this fucking guy's collection. Like, I don't know what's what. Like, who is this
Yeah.
guy? RoboCop or Batman? It's like Peter Parker. Like, why does he have 30 fucking Spider-Man? She's gonna throw them in a bin, and she's gonna price them out $1. Probably not, because she already knows. But still, like, when you have so much shit after someone
Mhm.
passes, the last thing you want to do is piece out someone's collection, especially if I don't even want to do it. Like, I've had people reach out and be like, hey, I can buy your collection. I'm like, I gotta go through bins, I gotta go through boxes.
Yeah.
Some of the labels were wrong because I put a line through it and I changed it. Like, I just found a box where it said loose figs, and I'm like, why would I write that? Why didn't I write? Well, so I opened the box. It was NECA, Spider-Man, Jurassic Park, some Hot Wheels. Went like, what the hell did I do? And I don't know. The boxes are from when we moved over a year ago, and it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you touch on a lot of good points. You know, the one that really resonates with me is, you know, it's maybe not a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
To worry about, like, oh, okay, I got to organize this. But man, it can make the experience so much more positive, I think.
Yeah.
By just going into it that way, or maybe starting fresh. You know, obviously it's going to take time. It's going to take effort to get your collection to a point where it does feel more manageable. But I think that time and that effort is worth it. Because, you know, some of the points you made, for one, it's going to make you a better collector. You'll know kind of what you have and what you don't have, and maybe what's easier to get rid of. I mean, how cool would it be if you just go to a box, you open that box, you got a list of stuff of what's in there. So rather than taking it all out and worrying about, okay, what's this, what's that, is it complete or is it not? Maybe put a note on there, complete, incomplete, missing 2 hands, something like that. Just as you're putting it back in there, just take that extra effort just to write down some notes and make something that is easy to read and easy to get access to, so that when you go back into that box 6 months from now, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is everything that I've got in there. This is what's missing here. This is what's missing there. So that when you go and try to sell stuff, man, that makes it so much easier.
Yep.
You know, knowing what's complete and what's not, so you're not opening up stuff.
Yeah. The minute you forget that you have doubles of something, you know you have a problem.
Right. And there's ways to like stay organized. I want to talk about that too. Like, what are some ways that I store figures, or what are some ways that might help you stay organized?
Yeah.
One of them I learned from the Dork Lair about Mythic Legion specifically, but he stores them in these 6x9 bags.
Yeah.
So he gets them from clearbags.com. I think I got mine from Amazon, but they're these 6x9 size bags, and they fit figures and accessories really well. So I use this for Legions. Now, this is a bad example because this is a Furious 4. It doesn't come with one of those little bio cards. Oh, okay. But normally what I'll do as well is I'll put the bio card in there, so you know who the character is, you know, if you want to read their backstory, and then all the accessories. And keeping stuff in bags like this helps with like paint scuffs and you know, figures rubbing together. Because a lot of us, what we'll do is we'll take a figure that's loose and just throw it into a storage bin, and that starts rubbing and, you know, grinding against a bunch of other figures, and then you take that thing back out, you know, later on, and it's got all this paint wear and damage, and it's bent, and you know, it's got there's a bat ear that's been bent over for the last 2 years, and so that thing's never going to come back. Not that a bag will prevent that, but at least it helps with the paint wear and the paint scuffs
Yeah.
So this has been really good for me. Or you
Nice.
put it in like a tote. I'll put it in like a clear tote with all of my bag figures, that kind of stuff. And I keep stuff separated out. So it's like, okay, Mythic Legions goes here, you know,
Yeah.
my DC stuff here, that kind of thing. That's really helped me stay organized when I want to do shots, because I'm like, okay, let me go to my TMNT tote. I'll go and find the figures that I've got in there. Don't stack them too much. Like, what I try to do is not fill it to the brim capacity, because then I know I'm smashing stuff in there and I don't want to damage my figures. You spend a lot of money on this stuff. Another way to store figures, which I really like from Mezco's, are these here.
Those are really awesome.
Yeah, these are like little photography storage cases, and they usually come in a set of 12, and it comes in another bigger plastic case. And they all slot in there really nice. But the good thing about these is that they will fit a Mezco figure inside of it pretty easily. So there's a PSCC inside the storage case. Now this is great because it protects from weather, and it protects me from damaging the cloth goods of the figure. With Mezco specifically, you want to be really careful about those cloth goods. So if you have like a silica pack that comes in the Mezcos, people wonder like, hey, what is that silica?
Throw it in there.
Why is that? It's to reduce the moisture.
Yep.
Because you have soft goods on your figure, the more moisture, the more likelihood that it's going to get damaged. And you'll see that peeling that people talk about with Mezco fabrics.
Yeah.
This, if you store like this with a silica pack in it, you'll never have to worry about that. That figure is going to stay fresh for a long time. So these are great for Mezcos. I really like these for Mezcos. I try to keep all of mine in there that are loose in one of these. And you can store almost all the accessories in these too. And, if you guys pay attention to the Toy Pages page, he's always doing something cool when he gets a new Mezco. Will it fit?
Yeah. And I thought he was talking about something else. And I was like, what? I'm glad I watched it.
You would. You would.
I was like,
Spreading
whoa,
rumors and starting beef.
I was like, whoa, what's this about? And I'm like, oh. Yeah. And you know what's funny? Because I bought 2 of those cases. And sometimes Michael puts them on this crazy, ridiculous sale price, like $14. I think I picked them up for $12. I picked up 2 cases, right? And this year, and I picked them up early this year. So I put some Mezcos from last year, and then my Spider-Man 2099, some other Mezco, mostly all Mezco figures. And, we're trying to come up with our top 10 list and things like that. And I was like, man, I'm missing a bunch of figures. Like, where did I put them at? They're not behind my shelves or anything. And I'm like, what the hell? And I was touring up my garage, and man, and I have a closet right here to my right where we record and stuff. And I walked in and I'm like, where the fuck are these figures? And inside this closet, I just have I have obviously clothes, but then on the top shelf, it's just a bunch of Mezco boxes. And I was like, fuck, I can't find these figures. I have no idea what happened to them. I have the Spider-Man 2099 box out here, but I don't have the figure. I look up on top. That's where they're at. 2 freaking these photography clear boxes, and they're both full. And here I'm thinking I still had space. Again, I obviously got a problem, but they were great because I have all the accessories there, and I totally forgot that I had placed a bunch of figures in there already.
Yeah, and to Prime's point, these are on sale right now at michaels.com.
I need some more.
Yeah. If you go to michaels.com, they're normally $42. I don't think I've ever seen them at $42, so let's take that with a grain of salt. But they're on sale for $14.99 right now. And I keep them inside normally. I don't keep this outside just because it is a clear container and you don't want sun exposure on it. Yeah. But you guys can get the idea. These individual ones are these smaller things that I was showing you.
Yeah. That's good for if you want to take them with you, go to do some shooting outside or something,
Yeah, if you go on vacation, that's a great point. These are great for that.
Or back to our original topic, like slap price values on there. Be like, this is a $100 case. This is a $200 case. Like just boom, just sell it by the cases. when I kick the bucket, so here they're already priced out for you. They're already priced out for you, honey. Yeah.
Yeah. Or get one of those little label printers. You can just put like Mezco, Conan.
No less than 150.
Yeah, at least 100 or something like that.
Raffle them at 20 spots, $10 each.
Or at least put like the value of what you bought it for. Mezco Conan, $100. Yeah. So that at least, okay, this is how much I spent. So when somebody goes and
Right.
tries to sell it, or
At
if you
least
want to
ask
sell
for
it
100.
yourself, at least ask for that much. If you're going to try to sell it, just give yourself a bit more, because like we talked about, yes, it's a morbid topic, but you want to be able to leave something behind to help with those expenses. And you don't want like somebody going through and selling all your figures for $5 a piece, especially a Mezco.
Yeah.
If you can give them some kind of direction on, hey, this is what this is worth, maybe they'll take a bit more time rather than just throwing it on the curb, like Prime's example of his neighbor.
Yeah. And we've all been there where like I've gone to the flea market and I've seen like lots of collections and stuff, and either the person selling it, they're like, oh yeah, it was my dad's, or it was so and so. They don't care. Like they just I remember
No.
I picked up a binder of Marvel cards, and it was like 5 years worth from 90 to 95. And it was like every single card, holographics included, like everything. And even this kid had some like mail away cards in there. Um, and the mom was like, "Oh yeah, my kid took off to college. Like he just left his stuff here." Like she was selling all this stuff, and it was so funny because I remember me and my buddy. I was out. It doesn't matter how old I was, but I was pretty young, and me and my buddy were walking down the flea market, and what caught our attention was like there was this short statured lady, but she had a Porsche. Like she was selling all of this stuff, and she had like a Porsche on the flea market lot.
Oh.
And she was like, I just want to get rid of all this stuff because I obviously doesn't fit back into my car. She's like, I had somebody follow me in the truck. She's like, they dumped it all. She's like, I'm just selling it. Like, I don't care. Like, and some of it was like kitchen stuff and like that. But then there was this little small section where it was just like collectibles. Like some of it was like video games. At this time, it was probably like PlayStation 3 or so. And the Marvel cards. And some little kid wanted just one sheet. And she's like, no, I'll sell you a section or the whole binder. And I was like, how much for the binder? And she was like, well, I don't. So she's like, $50. Like, I don't care. I just want to get rid of it. She's like, my son's off in college. I couldn't throw her the cash fast enough. And then I thought, man, that kid's your son's gonna be pissed.
He's gonna be so mad.
She was selling all his stuff like super cheap. Like she's like, I don't care.
Oof.
Like I sold our house. Like I'm moving out. She's like, I'm gone. I'm taking off in my Porsche. I don't care. But yeah, I was super extremely happy to get, and even the binder itself was a collector edition because the binder itself has a holographic card on the front. So I was like pumped.
Mhm.
I was like, man, this kid, and that again, this kid was organized. He kept the foil wrappers or the wrappers of the cards
Oh wow.
in a separate page. So like I knew like the 90, if it's from 90 to 95, and he has the wrappers on the front, and then then the collection starts, the checklist, and nothing's like, man, yeah, it was crazy. Good job, kid, wherever you are. I appreciate the effort you put in your collection. It's a treasure in my heart, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like you said, it's sad for that kid because once he realizes, like, hey, what happened to my cards?
Yeah.
And then she tells him the story that you just told us. He might lose it.
Yeah, he might lose it.
But if he just maybe went a bit further in that organization and put some kind of value list, or hey, a little note, don't sell these for cheap. These are valuable, that kind of thing. It might have helped his mom out. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
maybe. I think she might have been drinking too, so who knows?
Yeah, but just make a plan.
Make a plan.
Yeah, like we're talking about, there's different ways to help. Just kind of like a will in a way. I want to say like it's a figure will, or what do you call it? Figure afterlife thing.
Well, what's the saying? If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So
Boom.
You got to have a plan. So this way, it works out, and it gives your loved ones, those in your circle, peace of mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like we talked about before, if you plan for things, it's no longer an emergency. It's like, hey, I knew this was coming. I planned for it.
We all know it's coming.
Right.
At
some point, it is going to. So as you're thinking about collecting, maybe think about that too. Not like, don't think about your own death every day. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying,
every day. You don't have to every day.
As you're thinking about collecting, just think about, okay, how can this be better managed? So that if something does happen to me, how can I lighten the load for my family? Because nobody wants that burden. I've gone through it myself with losing family, and just what do I keep? What do I not keep? I ended up keeping way more than I needed to keep. You know,
Oh yeah, there you go. You can leave a list for somebody. Be like, keep these. Like, these are my top 10 figs of all time. Keep these.
Right.
The rest, I don't give a shit about. Because then, that's a good point. Because, maybe your wife's like, oh, Nate was a big Two-Face fan, and she's keeping the Two-Face, the Mezco Two-Face. And you're like, really? I have all this Batman stuff. Fucking Two-Face? Like, what the hell? She's like, well, he was Nasty Nate, so maybe that was like he's a Two-Face fan. And then there you go. She's gonna put Two-Face in the coffin with you, and then that's what you're taking with you for eternity. Like, you don't want that. You want to leave a list like, hey, bury me with my Batmans.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back as one of those ghosts of Christmas past, but like, why Two-Face?
Why Two-Face? Damn it!
Yeah, why did you do that to me?
Yeah, you're like, it was a joke.
Don't take me seriously next time.
Don't bury me with Sharpies. That was a joke.
Yeah, right. That's an ongoing joke that I think people think I'm serious about.
You buried me with flocked figures? Damn you.
Negative Nate over here.
Yeah, so that's why. That's a really good point. Make a list. Like, hey, these figures, like, and keep them to a top 10 of all time list. That'd be really hard.
Oh God, that'd be rough. Yeah, don't do that. But do something just to help. To lighten that load. And I think it's going to be something that ends up helping you as well as a collector. If you can think about that end game, what am I going to do and keep this organized? Maybe as you're getting it in the door, you're thinking about how I can keep this organized and cleaner and just more efficient going forward.
That's last thing to put. That's really funny because thinking of just setting up this room, I'm also really into comics, right? So I have some friends back here with certain comics. I had only enough for, I don't know, how many comics are back there, like a dozen. I had to sit there and I have box of comics, but I'm like, I gotta pick like my favorite 12 comics. I was like,
oh, that's hard.
Should I get the ones that I have signed? Should I get my favorite covers, my favorites? Like, man, I spent way too much time on just trying to figure out. And ultimately, I ended up deciding some of my favorite. But still, I look back, and here's the thing though: when I look back or when I'm in here and I'm looking at that wall, I'm like, you know what? Every single time, I'm like, yes, I'm happy with that decision. I never feel like, oh, I should switch it up. I stuck with it. I do want to get some more frames and put more comics, but ultimately I'm like, yeah, I'm happy with that decision.
Yeah, that's a whole nother side of it too. I didn't think about it, is the comics, keeping that organized and managed. And I've got my own small little collection, but that's a whole other thing I got to think about. Like, I don't even know what's in there anymore. So I need to go through and start labeling comics. But yeah, hopefully that helps you guys out. As you're listening to the episode, and you're hitting the like button, because you should always do that on the Figure Booth episodes. Make sure you leave a comment below. Maybe what's some ideas that you have? Did this resonate with you or not? If you're, too many points, I'm sure you're going to have at least 5 or 6 comments for us. So I can't wait to read those. But yeah, just let us know your guys' thoughts and kind of what other tips you might have for other people.
Yeah.
Cool. So going into our next topic, we're going to discuss pre-orders. I feel like it's a fairly light week. However, I've got the Toy Amigos to help me out for maybe stuff that I missed. I know one of the big ones is Mezco dropped a new release this week.
Yeah, the new Atticus Doom.
Yeah, new Atticus Doom. So the Rumble Society Atticus Doom Necroverse Edition. Did you go after this one, Prime?
Nope, I did not. Staying to that discipline. He looks really, really freaking cool, but I'm on the fence with the glow-in-the-dark stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only gripe.
I know there's some people that if it's glow-in-the-dark, they just got to have it.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think what Prime's getting at is, like, normally glow-in-the-dark stuff is brittle plastic.
Yep.
And over a period of time, it does not hold up. So if you've got an older glow-in-the-dark figure, I recommend maybe you just don't touch it.
Yeah.
Because if you try to articulate it, that arm might break apart. Or I've heard horror stories from people with older, I think, He-Man figures. There's one that does glow-in-the-dark, and its entire chest just disintegrated because that plastic is so brittle. Maybe over time they've improved it. But I'm the same way. I'm a little hesitant when it comes to glow-in-the-dark stuff. But I know there's other people that are crazy about glow-in-the-dark stuff. So
yeah. Same thing with like translucent figures. I do like the color scheme. I would have preferred like a light up. Like they could have just done a light up version, because the glow-in-the-dark, either you have to have it out in the sun or under a light, or I don't know. I'm iffy because like that glow-in-the-dark Space Ghost. Like people were, but then how really great was that glow in the dark effect? When it comes on to it, the room has to be completely dark for it even to, it's not that bright of a glowy effect. I don't know. And then if you're not using it for the glowing effect, then what's the point? I don't know. To me, it was cool, but it wasn't good enough for me to pick up.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I pass on this one too. I do like the new soft goods. A lot of the accessories are cool. I like this Cthulhu smoke effect they have back here. That's really cool. That's one of the things that kind of turned me off with the Space Ghost when they did glow in the dark. Is it was literally every accessory. It was everything that came with Space Ghost except no color, all glow in the dark. So I'm kind of glad they didn't go that route with this, because it was even down to his suit was glow in the dark. They didn't even do any color in it at all. And I was just like, wow, it seemed kind of like a cheap swap to me.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel as much that way just because it's the different clothing, and it's sort of got a bluish green kind of going on with some of the accessories. So here's how you can use it. Maybe not glowing in the dark, that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, I passed on this one too. It's just not really my cup of tea. I do like how they showed off this Bartholomew Vex.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's one of the upcoming figures. So I saw a lot of people saying like, "What's up with that goat?"
He's still up.
Necroverse edition is still up today. So if you guys missed it, jump on it. But I also got that magical enhancement kit, and I feel like a lot of the accessories are kind of on the same theme. I said this in the Discord, and this is only $35 compared to $100 plus shipping. It's just like, if you didn't get an Atticus Doom, I can see people jumping on this. But if you do have an Atticus Doom, the magical enhancement kit is still in stock. So if you really just want those effects, these aren't the exact same effects. Yes, there's other stuff that comes in this set that does not come in this expansion set here. But for me, that's a good trade-off.
The Atticus Doom is the Dark Nocturnal height, right?
Yes, he's a little bit shorter.
he's a little on the small side. Yeah, I don't know. Just I'm rumbled out. Mezco's been dropping a lot. I would rather have some of my pre-orders fulfill.
Yes.
And there's so much stuff coming out right now. I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth for Mezco pre-orders, especially Mezco exclusives.
Yeah, I feel like
the Big Tracy. I'm glad it wasn't we're Mezco'd out.
Yeah, well, and I feel like we've been really disciplined with Mezco lately because me and Prime kind of have the same stories. The last probably like 6 or 7 pre-orders that have gone up for Mezco, I haven't pre-ordered.
I didn't jump on the Big Tracy either. I'm like,
no, me either.
It's a regular release. It won't be out till next year. I can wait. Like, I'll get it, but once it gets closer.
Yeah, it's a standard release, so there's really no rush to go out there and get it. I can go to my local comic shop and probably pick that up if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But I mean, for anybody that did get this, I'm happy for you. I know there's a lot of people that are really excited about it, so that's cool. Just not really my cup of tea. There is a cloth goods, and like I said, shout out to Toy Migos. They posted this up. I've seen this in a few different spots, but I don't see it on VC's Toy Box yet, and I didn't see it on 5K Toys, so I just decided to go straight to Toy Migos, who are great about showing some reveals. But 112 World, which we've seen some third-party stuff from before, they're making a cloth goods version of Chainsaw Man. This is the third version of Chainsaw Man we've seen solicited so far. Mm-hmm. So there's the Figma, SHF, and now this 112th World third party, which is cloth goods. So if you want the cloth goods, this is the one to go for. However, I don't think this is going to be able to hit the same articulation and the same poses that you're going to get from the SHF. So it's kind of a trade-off there. Because a lot of the photos that I'm seeing, there's no bend past 90 on his elbows or his legs from what I can tell. But obviously I don't have the figure in hand. I don't know. This is just an assumption based on what I'm seeing here. Have you seen Chainsaw Man at all? I haven't watched this.
Nope, I haven't.
Hulu
I haven't
yet.
seen it. It keeps popping up on my suggested, but I have not seen it.
Crazy about Chainsaw Man. And I think that's kind of like the major.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet.
Oh, talk about the Kino.
The Naughty or Nice, they released Wave 2 pre-orders.
Oh, that's right. They did. Yeah.
Which I'm really
which I
interested.
think
Like it got my attention.
this fuck around and find out Santa.
Yeah, I
That's
like that
interesting.
Santa, and I like the mall Santa.
Yeah. It's a lot of different Santas, which I
I
get
could,
it, but it's
yeah.
like you got to use the mold. You want to try to crank out as many as you can, but
Yeah.
how many Santas is one person going to buy?
Hey, I'm already up to 3. I got the mall Santa, the
Okay.
fuck around Santa, and then the classic Santa.
Okay. Oh, you
Oh
got to have
yeah,
the
and maybe
classic.
barbarian Santa.
Barbarian Santa is really cool, actually. I can see this going with Legions. I think this is
Yeah.
what people maybe thought they were going to get with a
Yeah.
Mythic Legions Figure Obscura Santa, is something more along the lines of
Yeah,
this.
like a Nordic Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are cool though.
For sure.
You've got the Gremlin King, you've got the Nasty Krampus, and the Father Frost here. Pretty crazy to see how deep they're going with this in
Yeah.
the BBTS stuff.
I could see a lot of fun pictures from those out in the community.
Oh, and the last one I wanted to cover is this
Oh.
Flame Toys Snake Eyes. This thing looks insane.
It does.
Really crazy articulation. It's 7 inches, so it's a bit taller.
Uh-huh.
But if you're a Snake Eyes fan, then this is going to be like your definitive Snake Eyes that can hit any pose you want it to hit. Pretty cool figure. I don't think this has been up for pre-order yet, but it's
That's
out
awesome.
there. Yeah. All right. Well, that's pre-orders for the week. Let's go into Plastic Confessions.
Ooh.
You getting
Plastic
token?
confession time. No, not this week. This week, one of my 2 shipments came in, so I got my Mayfix Spidey
Nice.
came in.
I've got mine
the
sitting at
comic
HLJ
classic
right now.
colors. I freaking love the colors. This reminds me of the Toy Biz Classic McFarlane, or what everybody would call the McFarlane Spidey. So I freaking love it. What I want now is a custom Peter Parker head. I don't like the Parker head that I came with the other one.
Mm-mm.
And I don't know, do I want an animated one? Do I want something from a comic? I don't know. Some customers out there like put out some Peter Parker heads. Let me see what. I'm anxious to buy a Peter Parker head.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really like the Parker heads that come with the Mofex figures.
No,
they're just little. They don't remind me of Peter Parker.
I got a battle damaged head, I think earlier this year, maybe last year, I don't know, for my Armored Spidey Marvel Legend. Well, I like the take on this.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Peter Parker. It's almost like, I don't know. It reminds me of the Miles movie, Miles Morales, Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know. I feel like I need a good Peter Parker head. Not necessarily animated, but maybe more along the lines of a comic accurate one. I don't like the one that came with the Mayfix.
That's a way to collect better, right?
Yeah.
Tying into our last episode is getting custom heads for your figures to make them the way that you want them.
Love these colors. That's it. This is my only pickup for this week.
Yeah, that's got to be the best looking Mofex Spider-Man they've released to date, in my opinion. Yeah, there's a guy in our Discord. Shout out to Zimbala Zim, I think is his name, Mike. But he did a custom. Originally, when they released the first Mofex Spidey, I think they called it I don't even know what it was called, comic version or something.
Oh yeah, I have one.
And he ended up repainting it to look just like the new one that you got. So yeah, those colors are much more classic Spider-Man. I like it a lot.
Cool. That's it. That's my only plastic confession so far.
Well, that's doing better than just tokens.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot this week. I think the only thing that I got recently was the Mezco Constantine, but I actually don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, so I got it from One Stop Toy Shop. Shout out to him. I actually forgot that I had pre-ordered with him. It was so long ago. I think we're talking about 2 years now.
Yeah.
But that's one of those gifts that's really nice because you paid for it so long ago. And then all of a sudden it shows up. You're like, oh, yes, this is great. I was hoping I had this figure because it's kind of hard to find now. But yeah, I unfortunately don't have it in front of me for the video, but you guys know what that looks like, so I don't really need to show that off. But yeah, pretty excited for that one.
That's awesome.
All right. Nasty Nate's dirty trick for the week. I think kind of following on what I talked about last week about Christmas shots, one thing I kind of talked about on a live or Motivation Monday that me and Prime did was how can you get Christmas trees in your shots? So I just want to show you guys kind of what I did for mine. So you've seen these trees before. You can get you can get these at dollar stores.
Yeah.
Don't spend a lot on this stuff. These are like, I think $1, maybe 50 cents is what this cost me. But you can get these and they fit pretty well. They're a little small for 6-inch scale. So typically what I'll do is I'll put it on like a box. So I'll put it on something to prop it up and then kind of hide that behind the scenes. So you don't really see what it's sitting on, but that gets it a little bit higher in the shot. So if you've got like a taller figure and you want to make sure you can see that tree, just prop it up on something. But that's not what I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you is how you can light it up with Christmas lights.
Oh, nice. That's really
these
cool.
these don't come really wired with Christmas lights. But what you can get is at Target, they sell these like string lights, and they're these little like string. They look like that kind of, but it's a little wire. And so what I did is I took that string and I just wrapped it around the tree pretty tightly all the way down to where I've got this kind of sitting on the bottom.
Yeah.
So it works great for shots because it's really bright. You can go and edit the lights if you want to really make it pop, but I just try to find the best side of the tree that I think has the most lights on it. And then I turn that on and I take my photographs of it, and it works great for holiday shots this time of the year. I think I've used this like 3 years running now. I just replaced the batteries, but awesome. It works really well for holiday shots. So if you guys are trying to figure out like, how do I get a lighted Christmas tree? I was talking about this with Landon West, who's a resident visitor of our Motivation Mondays and a big supporter of the podcast. He's like, how did you do that? So I kind of talked to him about it. I figured there's probably other people that are having the same kind of issue. Yeah. How you get a lighted Christmas tree in your shots. So try that out. If you got the Mythic Legion or the Figure Obscura Father Christmas, it comes with a tree just like this. You don't have to go run out and buy it. You can get these lights at Target in the cheap section. I think they're like $5. You can get them online. And then just wrap it around your tree, and there you go. You got a really cheap Christmas tree for toy photos.
That's awesome.
Also, just one little thing. These gifts, I use these a lot.
Thanks.
There you go.
For the gift.
Oh. Yeah, these things are great.
Here's your gift, and you got my gift. We'll just exchange.
Boom. Exchanging gifts right on the podcast. But yeah, these gifts, I think I got these at Michael's or maybe...
I think it was Michael's.
Yeah. Okay, Michael's or Hobby Lobby. But these are also very cheap. There's like a little section where they sell little miniatures.
Yeah. They come in a bag of like 4 or 6.
Yeah. I think they come with about 6. And I use these all the time. And this is another one that I've used for years and years and years in shots because they just work so well.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be posting a couple of shots probably next week.
Yeah,
for the holiday. But yeah, these are great for shots. So if you guys want some holiday ideas, use those little trees, use the lights, and use these presents. It's a really cheap way to get some holiday festive flair in your toy photos. All right. Last but certainly not least, we're going to cover the Figure Aficionado for the week. And shout out to Colossal Customs. He actually gave us not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 suggestions for Figure Aficionados. So I appreciate you, Colossal, for doing that. That's something that we ask you guys if you're listening.
Yep.
And there's somebody that you know in the toy community that doesn't have enough attention, or maybe they do have a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But you just want to make sure that they get highlighted or they're one of your favorites. Let us know so we can feature them on the show. But this week's Figure Aficionado, which is a pretty well-known customizer in the community, but somebody that we have not really talked about much on the show, DTG_figures.
Yeah, does some killer work.
Yeah, this guy has crazy amounts of talent. He does a lot of like futuristic style customs. You can see this is one of them here. Sometimes he'll do live stream builds on these. This is one of them that he showed off in a live stream build, but this is like a Halo ODST character. You can see here, this is Titanfall. And you got Mandalorian.
So cool.
Yeah. But yeah, he's just got crazy talent. I just love seeing people that, this is Dead Space. We need some more Dead Space figures, please. We don't have, I can't think of any Dead Space figures that we have out there. So he created not only the Dead Space figure, but also the enemy that was attacking him in that shot. And just, everything from head to toe, this guy's working on. So I think he does a lot of the cloth goods. he will 3D print armor pieces and then paint them and then put them on the figure. And, you know, he makes individual pieces. So like shoulder armor and, you know,
on his
gauntlet
site,
armor.
I think you're also able to buy them too, buy the files.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, he does have a website on his page for anybody that's interested in his work, or to Prime's point, if you want to get some of those files, you can go to dtgfigures.com. He's got a shop. I think he does commissions as well. Whoops, there it is.
Yeah.
So you can shop the armory. He's got gear, accessories. I think you can get the files like he was talking about. His commissions are closed right now, I think, for the holidays. But if you guys are interested in any of his work, definitely check out his website or check him out on Instagram. Not that the guy needs any more followers. He's got a huge following, but you may not be aware of him in the community. And if you aren't, you really need to check him out, especially if you're into this kind of stuff. I can see like people that are into Acid Rain or Joy Toy could really like a lot of his work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, thank you, Colossal.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Everybody go out there and support DTG. We'll throw his Instagram handle into our comments or our description so you guys can click on that and follow him. But yeah, we made it through another one, Prime.
Another episode on the books. Hope you guys liked that topic. Didn't scare too many of you. Got you guys to think a little bit.
I'm waiting to see what kind of comments we get with this one.
It's a heavy one. It's a heavy one. You know, not every single one is gonna be a silly goose topic.
That's right.
But hey, that's what we're here to kind of shake things up and talk about the realer side. I don't know, the whatever side.
And we could sit here and talk about pre-orders and figures for an hour, you know, and that might entertain you. But what we try to do is get those topics that maybe you haven't heard before in other shows. You know, it's the holidays. You don't want to be talking about the afterlife, but it's something that we should all be thinking about as we collect and as we want to, you know, what kind of impact we're going to leave behind.
Yeah, it's all about that legacy. It's all about that legacy you live and the legacy that you leave behind. So, where do they check you out? Where can they keep up with you?
Yeah, you guys can check me out at figurefan_Nate on Instagram, Vero, and Facebook. And if you haven't subscribed to the Figure Booth, what are you doing with your lives? Subscribe to the Figure Booth, hit the notification bell, share it with your friends, get the word out there. If you really like the podcast, that's the biggest way that you can support us. If you like the show, if you like what we're doing, then help spread the word, because the more, like Dan Hu said, the more you can pummel people with following you and, you know, sharing your content, the more chance you're going to have people coming back. So that is a big part of you guys as our audience as well. We need your help in sharing that. So please go out there and support the podcast. If you want to support Prime, you can go to prime-arcade.com and get his arcades. He just put up a new one recently, which he showed us last week.
Yeah.
And Budget Wave Dio 3, I think,
it's about to wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about to wrap up by the time this episode airs, which will be on whatever the 17th. I'm not only am I bad 18th. Not only am I bad of keeping track of Star Wars movies, but also dates on calendars. Yeah. Okay. So the 18th, it'll be closed because that I have to have enough time to process some of those orders. And then my plan was to get them into all your guys' hands before Christmas, which so far I have been able to. I've been shipping out orders as I'm getting them. People are praying them. I'm sending them out. And don't forget about our contest. We're having a contest all month long. Get those entries in. Take a picture of your budget dial. Tag myself. Tag Nate. Tag a buddy. And in January, we'll do a live stream and we'll see all the entries. You can win yourself a dial, and your buddy will too. So if you want to keep and stay updated with everything that's going on, make sure you're following me. All under Prime to the First on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Till next time.